Hello, and welcome to the Empowerography Podcast. This is a platform created for women's voices to be heard and a place to share their stories, journeys, and successes with the world for the purpose of helping other women who might be on similar journeys. We are empowering women one episode at a time. I'm your host, Brad Walsh, so kick back, grab one of your favorite beverages, and enjoy the stories. What if I told you the only thing standing between you and your next big opportunity is your voice? This isn't just another program. Empower Your Message is your ticket to becoming the podcast guest everyone wants. You'll learn how to craft a pitch that gets a hell yes, show up with unshakable confidence, and drop truth bombs that leave hosts and audiences wanting more. No more playing small. No more waiting for permission. It's your time to be heard. Loud, clear, and unforgettable. Visit the link in the show notes to sign up, and let's make your voice impossible to ignore. The mic is waiting. Are you ready? Hello there, Brad Walsh here, your host of the Empowerography Podcast, a platform that was created to help elevate and amplify the voices of women through sharing their stories. Today, my guest is Valerie David. She is a playwright and performer. Welcome, Valerie. How you doing today?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
Yes, I am so excited to be here with you and share all about the beautiful light you put into the world through the work you do, your story, your journey. We've been trying to get this done for a while, so it's nice to finally have you here so we could share about all the beautiful things you do. So with that being said, let us jump right in. You wrote the play, The Pink Hulk, in which you share your cancer journey, the hopes of inspiring and empowering others through your story. You are yourself a 3-time cancer survivor. You've received multiple awards, and you are an incredibly amazing, inspiring, and kick-ass human. I had the absolute pleasure and honor of meeting you and seeing some of your Pink Hulk performance in Las Vegas when we met back in 2023 for the now honors, The Power of Pink. So before the Pink Hulk, before the cancer, who were you? And how would you say your identity has shifted through each chapter of your diagnosis, writing, and healing?
Yeah, that's a great question. To be honest, I am really the same core person, except I've added a few more layers from my cancer experience. And of course, I love food and sweets. So I equate myself to a Smith Island cake. So I'll explain what that is.
All right.
A Smith Island cake is a cake that is indigenous to Smith Island, Maryland, that usually has 8 to 12 layers of thin yellow cake separated by chocolate frosting. So I think my cancer experience added, I'm up to the 12 layers. Like I think, and it's a very thick piece of cake. And I think that equates the type of person I am. I think that cancer added so many layers to my life and to my personality. And I think that when I was first diagnosed with lymphoma, that was my first cancer, how it's really shaped me and identified me with each chapter. That was chapter 1. And the first time I was so scared because I didn't know what, I was 30 years old. I was stage 3. I just was beside myself and I was very scared. And luckily with my doctors and friends and families, I am cured of Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And then chapter 2 was breast cancer. I was diagnosed about 15 years later. I was celebrating my 15th anniversary of being cancer free. And then but it's okay. That became chapter 2. And then what happened is that I was angry. So I was like, wait a minute, I already checked that box and I had cancer again. However, I knew what to expect, Brad. I knew chemo was involved. The added layers were that I had surgery, which I didn't have the first time, or radiation. So that was stage 2 breast cancer. And then chapter 3 was stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. And that was about 4 years later. And I was scared and angry at the same time. It was like it was like a double combo. I love food, hot fudge sundae with chocolate sauce on it now with peanuts. And I was like, okay, I don't want that sundae. But the wonderful thing is that the Pink Hulk, my own show, helped me, where I reactivated my own superhero to fight this cancer again. And this time I was walking the walk, where those years I had been a 2-time cancer, I became a 3-time cancer survivor. And I picked the medication that I was on with research and having to work on its ad campaign at one point, this drug that I had asked the doctor to be on, because I had worked on the ad campaign 8 months before I was diagnosed. And then 5 months after, I found out that there was no evidence of disease, and that's been holding steady. And there's a less than 3% chance of people on this medication to have this type of outcome. So I was so grateful. But I think for me, that how it identified this chapter was that I was not going to stop doing the Pink Hulk. Even with stage 2 breast cancer, in this metastatic, I still was performing. I was still bandaged up and still doing it. And even with the Pink Hulk, I had revealed to the audience that the cancer had the cancer returned. But then 10 days later, I had the miracle, and so grateful that it ended up being no evidence of disease. So then I had to change the Pink Hulk again, and then do the show again, saying it came back and now it's gone again. And so it's right now no evidence of disease. And
you're a fucking warrior, Val.
Thank you. But it was just because of the end of the second ending, I was like, I will persevere. I will beat this. I'm not letting this stop me. And then 10 days later, it was, I got it. I kicked its ass. So it was really such a mountaintop moment to be able to share that with the audience and walk them through in real time that this was happening now. And it didn't stop me from performing. And in fact, my own show helped inspire me as much as I wanted to inspire others to never give up.
Amazing. I love it. And like I said, I had the pleasure of catching some of it at the Now Honors in Power of Pink. And it is incredible what you do. And it's just an amazing journey to see you perform. And so what was the moment then, or that divine spark, when you realized that the Pink Hulk had to be written, not just a story, but so as a mission to inspire?
Yes, that's a great question. I think what inspired me was the fact that I had 2 different cancers. So in breast cancer, and according to the American Cancer Society, less than 1% of all men get breast cancer. However, with lymphoma, specifically my non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, approximately 56% of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cases occur in males. So I felt that with breast cancer and with lymphoma, it really covers the whole gamut. So everyone can relate to this story. And I also find that with other people in the cancer world, it doesn't really matter what cancer you have, because we all go through the same things. We all have the fear of not being able to maybe survive this. We all have the fear of what treatment's going to look like, what it's going to feel like, what side effects that we had. So I think there were a few different things that I spoke to my oncologist about how I really wanted to write a show now that it was lymphoma and breast cancer, and she encouraged me. And then I went on an improv camping trip, and we had to go up in front of all the campers and say, talk about our lives. And this came up because I had just finished treatment a few months earlier. And then the camp director, who's the improv director at the People's Improv Theater in New York, was like, I see a story in this. and then I was like, yes. And then I had a full-time job at the time, and I decided I wanted to leave it. And without a job, I was like, I need a new focus. I can't do this anymore. I was a manager, and I said, I need to try something different. And one of the founders of the company said, I know you'll be a success, and we hate to see you go, but I think you're doing the right thing. So your head of the company was like, you have a purpose in life. So that was the encouragement. And then I took a writing course at Omega in Rhinebeck, New York. And it was all about writing your memoir and starting your memoir, writing from the heart. And the teacher, Nancy, said to me, Aroni said, when I was doing these writing exercises and we'd share it amongst the group, she said, you are a writer. And then I started writing it. So I had a lot of signs from the universe to say to me, this is what you need to do.
This is your path.
This is your path.
You said, did you say less than 1% or 1% of males?
According to the American Cancer Society, less than 1% of
suffer from breast cancer. Okay.
Breast cancer.
So now, of course, this is contingent on the amount of cases that the amount of men that report the cases.
Absolutely.
So the numbers are more than likely higher, much higher than that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Nowhere near as high as what women deal with, but just the fact that men deal with this too. I think there's a lot of people out there that might not even know that men.
It's so true. And I know someone, and I know this gentleman and his brother both had breast cancer.
Wow.
And they both had double mastectomies. So it's, really, and same chemo and things like that. So I think it's important because I think that it's something that should be highlighted because it's a cancer that's always identified more with women.
Yeah, of course.
And the statistics are from these sources that give us these numbers. But I know you're right. I'm sure that there are times that it's not reported or not said. And a lot of the time too, and this is unfortunate. And this is why I want to break that myth that there's a shame with cancer. I'm afraid to say that I have cancer because it's a stigma.
Yeah.
And I want to dispel that myth because I'm living my best life as a 3-time cancer survivor.
Yeah.
And even though I'm on medication for life and I have to get checked every 6 weeks for the rest of my life, I'm still here and it doesn't stop me from doing that. I just have to go to the doctor more often and take a little bit more than vitamin C every day. To take oral medication to keep the cancer at bay. I think that's important that it's something that's becoming, honestly, Brad, more of a chronic illness. And I always joke that I'll probably cross the street and get hit by a car before cancer takes me down because I'm just that
resilient.
That I'm just that clumsy. Probably trip over the sidewalk and there I go.
But the fact that less than one, and the shame, I think that shame factor probably much bigger for men, especially when we're speaking about breast cancer.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm sure there's shame for women too. And I'm sure there are a lot of cases that go unreported with women too.
And there's also with men having to deal with prostate cancer because a lot of the time it affects their abilities.
That's what you think of when you hear that males have cancer. That's probably the first thing that comes to mind is prostate cancer when it comes to men, not breast cancer.
Not breast cancer, but it does happen and it does occur. And I think that we need to shed light on that because it's something that you don't think about. And men there's the BRCA gene. There's about an 85% chance, I hope I'm saying this statistic right, of having cancer, breast cancer, when you have the BRCA gene, and men can be BRCA positive as well. And so I was BRCA negative, but a BRCA diagnosis, being positive for the gene, can alter what your treatment will be.
Okay. And so how has embodying your own story, literally becoming the Pink Hulk, transformed your relationship with your body, your voice, and your purpose?
Oh, that's such a great question. I think that it helped my voice in wanting to become a superhero to others and myself. And I think that I was mentioned earlier, I was reactivated the Pink Hulk in real time. And that I think that there's certain medication side effects that I'll always have to deal with. And that's okay because I'm still here. That there's a lot of joint issues and things like that. But again, it doesn't stop me from doing anything. Sometimes I kid around that I'm the Tin Man that needs the oil in the morning and that I'm like, I wake up a little like Frankenstein, but I just have to stretch and move a little bit more. And I think that the medication again has side effects and I'll be on it for life. So we'll see another 10 years from now or 20 years from now, 40 years from now, how it will affect me. But I don't look at it that way. I don't look at I'll have side effects. I look at it as without this medication, I wouldn't be talking to you.
I get another day.
I get another day. And 10 years ago, having this kind of diagnosis, I would you would be visiting me in a different place. So we wouldn't be having a live conversation. So there's so many advancements, and I'm so grateful for that. And I think that it made me feel very resilient, that having gone through, I'm going into my actually 27th year of being a cancer survivor. So I've had cancer so many years and dealing with it. And Brad, honestly, scares. There have been times where that there was I call it a funky lymph node, and then it had to be biopsied, and they thought it was cancer and it wasn't. And then there was a time where, and this was the latest diagnosis, where I said, I have cancer again. I just feel it. And they're like, no, you don't. And I did. So it's just
Holy shit.
And I think that the most important thing that I could tell people who are listening is to listen to that inner voice that you have.
You know your body better than anybody.
You do. And know when. And then there was another time that, and this is part of the Pink Hulk show, where someone said, oh, you have a 3 to 5 year life expectancy with this diagnosis. And I said, who are you to tell me? And I've outlived that a few years. Yes. So no one has the right to say something to you like that. And I called her a year later to inform her that that's probably not a good idea to say.
Yes.
The Pink Hulk was like, we need to, it's all about education. And it's about inspiring and to dispel those myths that come with cancer, the shame, the stigma. There's something wrong with me. Who's gonna take me seriously because I have this cancer is scary. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. And it's not always easy, but you just have to keep saying to yourself, I'm going to keep going, and not be afraid to ask for help when you have those days.
Beautiful. Now, having you being a 3-time cancer survivor, what do you think cancer came to teach you, and what did it come to strip away from you?
I think that what the greatest thing it taught me was empathy for other people. I think that we need empathy for each other to understand what someone is going through. And it doesn't matter. And that's the other thing that I wanted to say about the Pink Hulk. It's not a story just about cancer. You can see this show without ever having been touched by cancer, which someone did see and said, I've never known anyone with cancer, but your message, never. He was the only person I've ever known. And he said, I related to it because it was living life on your terms and living the life you want to live. And I think that the message is hope and inspiration with anything that you do. I've had friends say, I started a new job or I started my own business because your show gave me the courage. So I think that it teaches you empathy and gratitude, that every time I recently had a scan that came back clear. Gratitude. You're walking on sunshine for a bit about that. Keep that sunshine under your pocket or in your pocket, because it's important to have that gratitude, because without gratitude and empathy, we need it. We need that.
For sure.
We need to be grateful. And I think it strips away the BS. Don't sweat the small stuff. And believe me, I still sweat the small stuff. Don't think I don't. If a bus is not coming and I'm waiting in the rain for 20 minutes, I'm like, okay, I am sweating the small stuff. But I think what it taught me is to be around people who love you and who will. I love Andre DeShields, this wonderful African-American actor who's been on the Broadway scene and performer for decades. And he was quoted as saying, surround yourself with people whose eyes light up when they see you coming. And I think that is such an important thing, that you want to be around people who lift you up and that you lift them up. And then he also had this other quote, which I think is so resonant: slowly is the fastest way to get where you want to be. So the tortoise and the hare, right? The tortoise wins. So sometimes in life, things don't come quickly enough, or we wish that this had happened sooner, but we have to hold on to the fact that we keep moving forward, even if sometimes there's a step back, as long as you're in that trajectory of going forward.
That's a tough word.
It's tough, I know. So let's say, as long as you're moving forward without stopping, and that you keep driving forward, there's nothing that you can't do. And especially, and not to be an island as well, except for Smith Island cake. That's the only idea, except for the cake. But you can't do this alone, and you shouldn't do this alone.
We're not meant to do it alone. We are meant to do things in community and with others, with the support of others. That's part of why we're all here, is to support each other.
Absolutely. Yes.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, we often glorify survival. And yes, of course, you want to celebrate it. It's a wonderful thing to survive something that is associated with such tragedy. And like when you hear that word, oh my God, cancer, someone has cancer, that you automatically sink, and it's sad. But what don't people see about the emotional and spiritual toll of being a survivor?
That's such a great question. I think that is such an awesome question. And I have a couple of answers that come to mind. The one thing that I find as what an emotional toll is that the anxiety and worry for the next big test. And I have advice out there for getting those tests. So for instance, I have to get a PET scan, and I decided to always get it on a Monday or a Tuesday, because you'll most likely get the results within a couple of days.
Okay.
If you do it on a Thursday, you will not, it'll be another 5 days because you've got the weekend. So I always say, get your tests where you can get the results within the week, because the anxiety and the worry never goes away. So I think what I do to help myself is that I do meditation. My father's no longer with us, but I have him on tape talking about, and we're going to talk about that, about my family history. So while I'm waiting for my test, I'll listen to him talk about how he fell in love with my mom at first. He'll say, I fell in love. And then my mom going, that wasn't always the case. But like them laughing, like it's how much he loved her and saw her and fell in love with her. And so I have him with me. So trying to find things to calm you during that, or phone a friend and just saying, going through this, I'm really feeling, and sometimes I'm more anxious than others, but it's okay to not be okay. And I think that's really important, because there's also shame in, I have to be strong and I can't, the pink Hulk has her down days. I'm not always 100% this way or that way. It's always what's in the moment and what's going on in the world affecting myself as well. So I think that it's really important to know that you can get help with those days, and also with those scans. And also the other thing that is also an emotional toll, which sounds silly, but it's not, is that I often now, because of the portals of our hospitals and doctors, we can find out the results before they're even viewed by the doctor. So that happened. That's been happening, where my PET scan result comes in. I'm like, do I click? Do I not click?
Yeah.
Because so I try not to read it. It's a lot of, also I call it gobbledygoo, that you're like, your syntax waxon waka.
Doctor speak.
Showed an uptick in waka. And you're like, I have no idea what that means. I just want to know, is this clear or not? So I think to also keep in mind that you should really be cognizant of knowing that you sometimes can see the results before your doctor can review them in this modern age of technology.
So why put yourself through the
why do that?
unnecessary
Exactly. And
if you could go back and sit with the version of you before your very first diagnosis, hold her hand, whisper in her ear, what would you say to her?
I would say, don't worry, breathe. You are a fighter. You will be a survivor. And I would say, look what your family went through. And we'll circle back that my father had to flee Iraq when he was 8 years old, only with what my family could carry. And they never went back. And knowing that I've come from a family of survivors, and to say, I would say, look what your family went through, and you can do this. And I even had a cousin one time that said, look at the stock you come from, when I was diagnosed with cancer again. Look at our family. That alone was inspiration for me.
Love it. In the deepest corners of your healing, did you ever question whether you deserved to survive?
No.
No.
Everyone deserves to survive. No one deserves this. I think if anything, it gave me purpose, and it gave me what we talked about earlier, the empathy and the gratitude. And I feel that it was a matter of what are you going to do when you survive, not if you survive. And when I survive, that it will be to fulfill a mission to help others and inspire others.
Now, of course, as we know, we're in an age and time of this bullshit hustle culture, and you've always got to be doing and going and all the things. And so what has healing taught you personally about rest, softness, and surrendering?
It's so important. And I'm still struggle with that in our hustle world. I think that it's looked down upon to rest, to take a day off. Like even on weekends, people are doing this. I never hear someone go, you know what? This Saturday, I'm doing nothing. I'm not going to clean. I'm not going to cook. Everyone, if you're not in perpetual motion, then there's something wrong. And I think that's the opposite, because you need time to take a break. You need time for yourself. You need time to say no. And I think one of the quotes I love that I adopted from all this was no is a complete sentence. If I say to you, oh, Brad, I don't feel like going to a movie with you. I don't have to say it's because I have to do this. I have to do this and I have to do this. And I'm really sorry. And it's no, I'm just not going to be able to do it. And I think that's important, that there doesn't have to be an excuse or a reason why. It's just, I need this for me. And I think we've lost sight of that in so many different ways. And healing is taking a step back.
Well, for sure. People always feel the need to explain after the no. It's no, just say no. No,
just say no.
I don't feel like it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. If someone says, do you want a strawberry sundae or a chocolate sundae? It's like strawberry. I don't have to say, I like chocolate better. I like strawberry better. Chocolate sometimes keeps me up at night because there's caffeine in it. And so it's just choose, and you don't need to explain yourself. And I do strawberry better. I just like
me too, actually.
And I'm not going to say why. I just do. I just love strawberry sundaes over chocolate sundaes. But it's, I'm like, we'll call this the dessert hour. But,
no kidding.
But I think that it's always over explaining, or I can't go to this because I'm doing this or doing this. I think we just need to just say, this is what I need for me. And I think that is really the most important thing.
Yeah.
And if you feel like it's chocolate sundae, then have that chocolate sundae sometimes.
Throw peanuts on it if you want.
Throw peanuts. Exactly. That's a good idea. I like that too.
How has facing your own mortality shifted the way that you listen to life?
That is such a great question. I think that it's taught me to appreciate everything, and that I wish everyone a happy birthday when I know it's their birthday. Birthdays are like national holidays. And I just think to celebrate those milestones in life. And it's really interesting because I remember a friend of mine, I wished her happy birthday. I hate my birthday. You don't need to wish me a happy birthday. I don't want to even acknowledge it. And I remember saying to her, this is not really something you should say to me. I said, if that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But to be cognizant of other people's feelings, to tell a cancer survivor or someone who's a patient, you hate your birthday, we are grateful and hope we live to each birthday.
Yeah.
So I think it made me really also speak up. I very much speak up. I want to say how I feel and not be afraid to say it. So I had no qualms saying, please don't say that to me.
Also, Val, I think that when we think about this in what you're saying with birthday, when you take the time to out of your day to wish someone a happy birthday, whether you're a cancer survivor or not, I think it's disrespectful because that person's taking the time out of their day to think of you. And then you turn around and say, I don't want to celebrate. I don't care.
I hate my birthday.
Like the same kind of thing with compliments. Someone takes their time to compliment you. Oh, no, I don't feel that way. Or just take the compliment. Just receive it.
Just say thank you. Yes, exactly. Don't say, oh, you're such a nice person. Oh, I'm not really. You should have seen what I said to the lady the other day who walked in front of me.
Just receive.
Just receive. Yeah. And I think that's really important, is to receive it. and to take that compliment. You're absolutely right. You're right. Everyone almost negates the compliment.
And that says something to the person that's complimenting you, or that you're wishing wished you a happy birthday. I totally get and relate to what you're saying about because you, as a cancer survivor, you look forward. You are grateful for every single day you have, and you're hoping that you make it to your next birthday. Exactly. And then for someone to turn around and say that, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think you should be very mindful of who you're speaking to and who you say that to, but keep it inside. Even if that's how you feel, don't speak it.
Exactly. It's negative energy. Yeah. It's that quote earlier about being with people that make you feel that you light up the room.
Yeah.
And I think it's having those positive people in your life that are so important, because when you were talking about stripping away, if someone is a chronic complainer and it's just everything, there's nothing ever positive, that person is in another zone. They're in a galaxy far away.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, when you first heard the word cancer, not once, twice, but 3 times, what really hit you hard, and what did you discover about yourself in those moments?
I think that when I first heard it, it was complete devastation. I never heard sounds coming out of myself like deep rooted pain and crying. Like I've never, and next to someone dying, a close person dying, it was like the same type of feeling of just, and also disbelief.
I was going to say, was there a moment of disbelief? Are you sure you didn't mix up the fucking test results?
No, but it was but absolutely. It was also, talked to many cancer patients and survivors about this. You can't see it. So when I was diagnosed with cancer, I'd walk around New York City and I'd be like, I have cancer, but I don't feel it. I didn't feel horrible. I didn't look like, it wasn't like there was a C on my forehead and people were like, woman has cancer. It's such a disbelief because you can't see cancer. So it was this way of saying this can't be true. And then you wonder, you're like, oh, is it a mistake? Is it, because you've heard people going, oh, I'm sorry, I swapped. I even there was a time where I was getting a CAT scan and I looked up because it says your name and it was this man's name. I'm like, that's not my name. So they were giving me a CAT scan at the hospital under a man's name. They had the wrong name. So you have to also be really focused and that's why I always say try to have someone come with you. You just don't know, because people are human. But I was
fallible.
Or fallible. And I was like, that's not, hello, before we start, that's not me. That's not my name. It's a guy's name. And I think that it was knowing that, I guess the other was like the shock, then it's the devastation, the shock, and then it's, I'm going to kick your ass. And then it's defying it. So then I think that when I had a lumpectomy and on a Friday and I had an audition on Sunday, and my mom was like, you're not going. I'm like, yes, I am. And she's like, I'm going with you. So I took her to my audition and I'm like bandaged. I can't even move my arm. And I still auditioned when the day that I found out I had stage 4 cancer. I was in Portland, Oregon, and I had a show that night and I performed that night and that whole night. Just the show must go on. You must go on. And then you say, you messed with the wrong person. So then you get almost, I'll show you.
Yeah.
But it's a run of a gamut of emotions. It's just, it's a tidal wave of emotions. And they are all different. And then one minute you'll wake up and you'll be like, was that a bad dream? Is that true? And then you start seeing the effects, like when chemo and your hair falls out, then you're like, oh yeah, I am going through cancer.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of different emotions in different stages. And then people saying to you, they'll look at you and they're like, you look good. And I'm like, okay, like trying to and I'm like, trying to be helpful, but they're not helpful.
Yeah.
I always want to do a comedy routine, like
about the things people say.
and don't Yeah,
These
like
are the
things,
do's and
do's and
don'ts.
don'ts of what to
Yeah.
say. Oh, wow,
What?
you look
Okay,
good.
on this topic, what is
Mm.
one of the craziest things someone has said to you that you just shook your head and said, "What the fuck is wrong with you?"
I think no, there were a couple of funny things. Actually, no, why you said that, I wore a wig, my job, and somebody tugged on my hair,
Mhm.
went sideways, and he was like, "Oh my God!" He didn't know, and he felt so bad. And he felt so bad. And I was like, no, it's fine. I was like, oops, things like that. And I think like probably the craziest thing is and that was that woman that said to me, you have a 3 to 5 year life expectancy. And then this is in the pink clip
Yeah.
that you saw, that someone is like, I hate to say you're not going to die of old age. And then I think something else someone said to me, and I've said, and I have spoken out about this. I remember getting a biopsy and we didn't know the third time whether it was lymphoma or breast cancer, because it literally was in the same spot as both. And so right before I was getting consulted on the biopsy, the doctor looks at me, the biopsy doctor, and he's, "You ought to hope it's lymphoma." And I was like, "What?" And I was like, and it ended up being breast cancer. "You ought to hope it's lymphoma over breast cancer." And I was like,
shitty bedside manner.
yeah. And I said, and I go, "Why? Because of my life expectancy?" He's, "Yeah." And I was like, and then it was breast cancer. And then when I had lymphoma, someone said non-Hodgkin's, and they go, "Oh my God, thank God it's Hodgkin's and not non-Hodgkin's." And I was like, it is non-Hodgkin's. So you just go, it's like that Home Alone face. You just go, "What?" Screaming in the mirror. So a lot of, but I've spoken up. Like I remember when I was diagnosed one time, I was at work and I got a phone call, and the woman, without asking me, she's like, "We got your results. It's cancer." And I was like right in the middle, and it was like, and I just went, "What?" And I went into a conference room and I said, "Do not ever do that to someone again. You ask them first, are you in a place that you can talk?" I'm like, and my boss walked by and she saw my face and she mouthed, "What happened? What's going on?" And I was like, and I said, "Don't ever do that again." And I said, "That is a horrible thing you did by telling me without asking me. It's a work day. A lot of people like to know." And I said, "Ask them first." And I said, she goes, "I learned something new today." And I was like, "Yeah, you sure did." And so
I think that's the top of the fucking heap, Val.
yeah. And I did. And I had them written up. Like I complained. Every hospital has a patient advocacy department. And I remember even there was another time when I was getting the biopsy, they're like, "It's cancer. We just don't know which kind." And I was like, "We're not even supposed to say that." And this was like one of the student training. And that's where you speak up and you say this, you don't do this to people.
Yeah.
And so I've had and I could have a stand-up routine.
There should be your next thing.
It's educating people and saying, this is not what you should do. And you're trying to minimize the pain, not exacerbate it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're already going through enough. I don't need someone to tell me I don't
crazy.
I'm not going to have a long life expectancy.
My God.
Yeah. But you have to also, the most important thing, Brad, is have a sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
And I totally do. You just have to have a sense of humor. I remember sneaking out to get food one time of my bed because I wasn't allowed to have food and they forgot to take it off their, like the room thing. I was like, so I snuck out and I was trying to run to the cafeteria, and then they found out. I put a note on the bed and I said, "This is Valerie." I was snarky. I'm like, "Be right back. Went to get a sandwich." And then I put my phone number on it, and just being like snarky. Nurse called, and she was Nurse Cass. She goes, "Valerie, where are you? We need you to come back now. We have a test for you, and transport's been trying to find you and said you went AWOL." And so I ran back up, and then after the test was over, you're not allowed to walk to test, so you have to have transport. And in the wheelchair, they move you from room to room. And he took me to the cafeteria, and I loaded up all this food on top but just things like that where and I snuck out and I was like almost crawling on the ground so the nurse at the station couldn't see me. And then I hit the elevator and I jumped in. It was like, I was busting out of prison. And I was forever known as the patient that went AWOL, because they're
That's
like,
hilarious.
I just left a note thinking they would never even see it, that I'd be back by then. And then they saw it. So I got busted. So that's what I mean. You have to have a sense of humor.
For sure.
Yeah.
How did writing and performing The Pink Hulk allow you to take your power back? What part of your identity did it awaken or resurrect?
That's such a great question. I think that what it did was, I had written another play with someone else when I just had lymphoma. And I should have listened to myself and had said to myself, you have the power to write this yourself. And so the play did not go over well. And it basically did not go over well. And so having cancer again, it gave me the courage to write my own story and not rely on somebody else, that I could do this on my own. Obviously, dramaturging and director, I had great people helping me, but it's basically my story. And I think that it gave me the courage to say, you can do this. And I think that was really important to me, to have the courage to do that. And also to, for instance, like 2 months after I finished radiation treatments and 8 months of treatment, I completed a 40-mile bike marathon.
Wow.
And I didn't think I could do it. So I think it gives you the courage to push yourself and to say, I will do this. And if I didn't finish the 40 miles, then still be happy enough that I even tried.
Yes,
because
exactly.
so many times in life, you can't get to the finish line. So many things. You just have to enjoy the journey to even trying to get there.
For
if
sure.
That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if a woman in the audience has just received a life-changing diagnosis, which now, as I'm reading this question, I'm thinking back to the Now Honors The Power of Pink. Carrie was in the audience. I believe her name's Carrie. Yes, Carrie was in the audience, and she had just received news, a cancer diagnosis. What do you hope that she carries home in her heart, not just Carrie, but anyone, after seeing your performance?
That's such a great question. And I think that I would want people, and especially her from last year who had, or from the time we were together, that to have hope and empowerment and to be your own best advocate, to really say to yourself, this doesn't have to be a death sentence and I can fight this. And to surround yourself with the best doctors and trying to be able to say to yourself, this won't stop me. And it may put a pause on my life for a while. I remember saying to my doctor once, we're going to have to put off treatment because I'm really busy right now. And she was like, and I literally said that. I was like, I was booked up in 4 shows. And I was like, it's going to have to wait till my shows are all over. And literally I said that, and my doctor's eyes popped out of her head. And she's, you don't have that option to wait. So I would say that it'll put a pause on your life, but to know that there is always hope, and that this doesn't have to mean this is the end. In fact, it's the beginning of a new life for yourself. Because everyone tell you after they've had a cancer diagnosis that their life has been changed. And then I think it's up to the patient and the survivor to decide how that's going to look.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. I can remember clear as day when Carrie, because it was on the Sunday that she shared that, when some people had already left, but it was more like the day was around celebrating and talking about the event and talking about entrepreneurship and just sharing. And I can remember as clear as, I will never forget this.
Wow.
She stood up and she shared that she had received the diagnosis, and immediately women that were on the stage, women that were in the audience went to her and held her. It was one of the most incredible, beautiful shows of support I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
It was phenomenal.
It was so uplifting. And that will help you through it. And it's interesting with Carrie, what had happened, and everyone lifting her up. When I was diagnosed with lymphoma, I went to a New Year's Eve party that night, and everyone knew at the party that I was going to find out that day. And I came in and they all looked at me, and I just went, I said, not talking about it.
Yeah.
So everyone knew. And during Madonna's song Ray of Light came on, it was like this tribal dance, and they all surrounded me, just like Carrie, and lifted me up, and we were all crying, and we were all like, and I feel the ray of light, and it was just magnificent. So to have that support, and I'll never forget that with Carrie, that's what you need. You need somebody to say to you, when you're doubting it's okay, you need someone to say it's okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And you'll be okay. And that happened with also my family. It was with my parents when I was diagnosed. And they weren't like, oh, poor Valerie, you poor thing. They're like, we're going to kick its ass together. Don't you worry. We're going to beat this. We're going to fight this. I think that's what I would say to somebody like with Carrie, that it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you've taken your play to many different places and different cultures, different hearts. What for you has been one of the most surprising or soul-touching responses you've received from an audience member?
So there are a couple of things that come to mind. One was that when the first time I ever did this show overseas, I was terrified because I didn't know if it was going to translate. And I went to Sweden, where English is not the primary language. And I think what really made me so happy was that I had a talk back afterwards, and the women said, we don't talk about these things. We're not an Oprah society where and you gave us a voice to talk about it. And then I ended up getting the WOW award for the show, which was the show that was known to inspire awe in its audience with creativity, humor, and content. And I couldn't believe in another country that this translated. And I think that was such a golden thing that I felt really was so special to me. And I think that a woman, when I did the Pink Cloak recently, I have a cape on the end, which you saw.
Yes.
And this woman was in treatment, and she said, can I put your cape on? So she put the cape on and started flying all over the theater. And then the other thing was that someone who had MS saw the bike marathon scene and said, I didn't think that I was going to be able to bike again because of MS, and now I want to try to bike again. And then a woman who was in treatment for breast cancer was starting radiation a few months after my show and reached out and said, I need your Hulk powers. I'm starting radiation. So it's just like these beautiful things that have happened, or a husband saying, I understand what my wife goes through.
Amazing. I love that. I love that. What has cancer taught you about surrender? Like the kind that doesn't mean give up, but just letting go of what you cannot control.
Yeah, that is such a great question. I think, because you're right, it is surrendering. Like what I said earlier, you have to take a pause. It's not like it's going to have to wait. Like your priority is to fight this. And so I think it taught me to be in the now, in the present moment. What can I do now? And not to look too much into the future, because you're only in control of what you can do now. And I think it really taught me to surrender to the now instead of going into the past. Oh, I've never had this happen before. And the worst thing that's ever happened to me was I fell and scratched up my arm, crashing my bike, or just little things like that. It's not focusing on the past. I was a happier person when this didn't happen. This was what my life was before that. I remember I was in the hospital and I was sharing a bed with someone at a cancer hospital, or not sharing a bed, sharing a room. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, budget cuts. We share beds now, but we were sharing a room. And she goes, why is this happening to me? I was healthy before I came in here. And I was like, we were all healthy before we came into this hospital. And then when I talked to her about nicely, and she's, thank you're right. But it's not to dwell on the past and not to dwell on the future, but what can I do now? And then figure out what you want to do. How will this affect you for the rest of your life? What choices you want to make? Do you want to be defeated by this, or do you want to kick its ass, right? And sometimes, and I'm not going to again sugarcoat this, sometimes it doesn't happen. You fight the good fight and you lose the battle. I had recently a dear friend pass away from cancer, and it's a gut punch because you want everyone to survive, and not always everyone does. I don't want to say, oh, anyone can beat cancer. Sometimes it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I think that's also important, what it teaches you, that you just try to do the best that you can. And sometimes it's going to go, you hope it goes the way you want, but sometimes it doesn't. And I've lost a lot, including my own father, from cancer.
Thank you for sharing that. And this is a great segue. I want to speak now about your play, Baggage from BaghDAD.
Yes. Yeah.
What do you hope people walk away with after experiencing Baggage from BaghDAD, especially those who have never had to flee or be silenced or hide their identity? Maybe you could share a bit about the play as well.
Absolutely. So it's called Baggage from BaghDAD, Becoming My Father's Daughter. And it's about, and I want to give a shout out to my director, Karen Carpenter, that it's about my father having to flee Iraq in 1941 from a pogrom called the Farhud that happened in Baghdad, that was brutal anti-Jewish violence. And estimated 1,000 Jews were killed. And they had to flee that night with only what they could carry. And I think what I want to walk away with that is that, and how his survival shaped who I am today, including my cancer survival, because they had to leave everything behind, start a new life in a couple of countries that weren't so welcoming to them, suffered bullying and discrimination. And I think that the show is a universal message about celebrating each other's difference. And we know everything going on in the world right now. It doesn't matter who you are, who you love, what religion you are, what color is your skin. We need to celebrate each other's differences instead of fear them or repel them or be angered by them or try to crush them and destroy them. And I think it's important to understand walking in other people's shoes. And I think what was really important, what someone did walk away with, that is that my father fled Iraq in 41 from religious persecution. And a gentleman told me after he saw the show that he left with his daughter in 2005, left Baghdad and was Muslim. And here I am Jewish. And he said to me, "We are family."
Wow.
He said, "We are family." I fled with what we could carry, with my daughter, who was 5 or 6 years old at the time. And I understand what your father went through and being a father. And it didn't matter. We had this commonality of just being human and being human beings and just respecting each other and not looking at each other in you need to be this way or you have to change to my view. We can exist in this world with different political views and different views on life and religion and sexual orientation. I want people to say we are all the same and that
we are all one.
We are all one. Exactly. Yeah.
Now, of course, the play isn't just about history. It's about you and your father learning to love, accept each other, all these things. What was the hardest truth to face in that journey?
So hard was the fact that I thought we were different and that we butted heads because I was the emotional daughter and he was very stoic and very stern and strict. And it was realizing that when the tagline is becoming my father's daughter, I think he was always worried about me because I was always crying or I was bullied at school and I cried home and I just never stood up for myself. And one time, this was recently after the play was finished or developed, I should say. It's always, plays are always evolving. And so I was going through cassette tapes recently that had all my old voice lessons on cassette tapes. And I found this tape that said David family, August 10th, 1998. And I was like, what's this? And I popped it. I still have a recorder. I popped it in there and I was like, oh my God, it was an interview I forgot that I did with my dad.
Wow.
And talking about how he was bullied and all this stuff. And then the play changed because we weren't different. We were the same. Yeah. And that's probably why it was hard growing up, because he wasn't really allowed to show his emotion. A very strict mother and she wasn't warm and fuzzy. And I had a mom that's, oh, Valerie from Brooklyn. And
Yeah.
but I realized, I think that was just such a mind-blowing moment for me, that all these years we weren't different. We were the same. And I think it really changed the show because of it. Yeah.
So what was the spark that led you to write this play? Was there a moment? Was there something specific?
Yes. So there were a couple things. So it was just interesting because I went to the New York Jewish Sephardic Film Festival in 2005. And there was this wonderful documentary by Carol Bossery and Adriana Davis called The Last Jews of Baghdad. And it was all about her family, also around that same time period, and talked about the Farhud that my father went through, and had like footage and history. And it was a history lesson very similar to talking about her own father. And the two of them were just amazing. And it inspired me to start doing this and recording my own family history without knowing. I didn't know I would have a show later, but I ended up interviewing my aunt, my dad, my uncle, and my cousin, because they were the last remaining relatives from Baghdad. And I knew once that generation was gone, and now they're all gone, pretty recently, and then my aunt died soon after, like a year after I interviewed her, of pancreatic cancer. I was so glad to have this family history, just to understand me and myself, and for my whole family to never forget what they went through, because those stories die with them. If it wasn't recorded, we wouldn't have these
for
stories.
Sure. It's beautiful.
Where my cousin ended up having to become a professional boxer to defend himself.
Wow.
Because he used to get beat up for his religious beliefs. So things like that, you just don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
And how it inspired me to be who I am today, and hope and inspire others as well.
What do you think your dad would say today, seeing you stand in front of the world, sharing on a stage this history so unapologetically and so powerfully?
Oh, thank you. He would say, I'm so proud of you, Ayuni, which is I love you, pretty eyes. And he'd say, I love you, my youngest one. Because he used to always call me the youngest one. And all my cards, I would say, love Valerie, the youngest one. So he would be very proud. And I think that he would be proud that we're keeping our legacy, family legacy, alive through this play.
In all the roles you've played on stage, in life, which one has been the hardest to embody, and why?
I would say definitely this over Pink Hulk, to be honest, is Baggage from Baghdad, because I can't control my father being not with us anymore. And so I performed the show the day after he passed away. And I was trying to come home in case, like, he was in hospice, but we didn't know when. And I was going to come home the next day after the show, and he ended up passing away the night before.
Oh, man.
And that was the hardest thing I've ever done. And my mom, and I said, Mom, I'm going to cancel the show. Forget it. I'm going to come home. And she said, no, you are doing your show for me and for your dad. And your dad would not want you not to do the show. And so that was, I think, the hardest thing I've ever had to do, because I had to pretend he hadn't died. And it's all about the show. It's all about him. And he passed away literally 24 hours earlier. And I think that was even harder than being diagnosed with cancer again the day of a Pink Hulk show.
Yeah.
And I think that's been hard, because I miss him so terribly. We all miss him. My whole family misses him. So I think that was really the hardest part.
Thank you for sharing that moment, Val. That's very special and beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, you have received standing ovations, critical acclaim. You've won awards for the Pink Hulk. But when the lights go down, the stage is empty, all the applause is gone, it fades away. What do these honors really mean to you when you're alone with your silence in your story?
That's a great question. I think for me that what really, I think of all like the accolades and Tigo and Dr. Sherry were part of this, was getting a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award for resiliency in action. I think because it's about not the show, it's about what happens because of the show, after the show, and the talkbacks. And I think that was so special to me because it was an affirmation. And you're right, like there are awards and accolades. Awards and accolades are an affirmation that I'm helping people. And that's what I wanted to do. And I think that's what really lifts me up so much, because I want to help people, and that's my mission. And if you can, I performed where there were 3 people in the audience, hundreds of people in the audience. It doesn't matter. It's who you affect. If it's one person, it's all worth it to me.
Yeah.
And I think that getting grants for the show also is an affirmation that they believe in your work. And they always say the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next. So keep climbing. So it also means that my mission isn't over. That it's just because I got this award, I'm like, okay, now I'm done. It's an affirmation to keep going. And then getting the Pink Conquer Award also at the Now Awards also was very special to me.
Love it. So what's next for Val?
Wow.
For the Pink Conquer?
There's a lot bubbling. So I did the shows this winter or spring in February. I did both shows. I'm trying to do both shows together. I am doing the Pink Hulk in Wyoming. I'm doing the Baggage from BaghDAD in Vermont and in PA and back in New York. And it's just been an incredible journey. I'm pretty much booked up with one or both of the shows the rest of the year.
Congratulations.
So I think I'm really excited for that. And I think that it's important to keep going. And I've been doing Pink Hulk for 9 years without a break, even when I was re-diagnosed twice.
Amazing.
Or once. Yeah. Because I was a 2-time cancer survivor with the Pink Hulk. Then I became a 3-time survivor. So I've never taken a break. There's never been a year that I've been like, oh, I'm not going to do it this year. It's always been, and especially Pink Hulk around October, because it's breast cancer awareness.
Yeah.
I always like to do a show around there. And then I think the other important thing is that I raise money for cancer organizations. And that's where the magic happens, the talkbacks with the audience and having special guests who are either cancer survivors or going through it or doctors. And that's where the magic happens, to talk to the audience and have that one-on-one interaction. And then also raising money for different cancer organizations through the shows to try to make a difference in a cancer organization.
Beautiful gift. You are a gift, Val.
Thank you. Amazing. You are a gift. Thank you.
What do you think your unique skill set or superpower is that's helped you become successful?
My sense of humor, I think. I definitely think finding the funny in everything. I think that's a superpower, because if you can't find the humor in something, then it's the opposite, and you find the devastation in it.
Yeah.
And I think that my resiliency is also a superpower and like I said, I don't always have great days either, but it's bouncing back is the superpower, because you can't say that life is of Smith Island cakes and strawberry sundaes and chocolate sundaes with peanuts on it. Life is not always going to be that.
No, that's not.
So it's all about resiliency. When you fall down, to try to get back up. Yeah, that's the superpower.
Speaking of success, how do you define that word? What does the word success mean to you?
Oh, that's such a great question. I would say that success is being happy, and success is being around people that care about you and you care about them. And success is outside of all of this, is making the memories with someone, going to visiting. I was just rehearsing for Baggage in Vermont, and like making those memories. And it's about people. I think success is people, and that's what it is. And then waking up and saying, I'm doing what I want to do.
What does the word empowerment mean to you?
It means kicking butt. And it also means helping others kick butt, empowering others to do that. And I think, I think those are such great, I love the word empowerment.
Okay, we're going to jump into a little rapid fire section. So the next grouping of questions just be 1, 2, 3 word answer type thing. Okay.
Sure. Yes.
How would you describe yourself in one word?
Funny.
What is your favorite self-care practice?
Meditation.
If you could teach the world one thing, what would it be?
Empathy.
What is one thing you want but cannot buy with money?
Happiness.
If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
She loved you and would do anything for you.
What is one thing you love about yourself that is not related to your physical appearance?
I'm goofy.
What is one word that defines the woman that you're becoming?
Powerhouse.
Very appropriate. That concludes our rapid fire section. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. I created a bonus question that I did not send you. If you could take one feeling or one belief and bottle it up and give it to people, what would it be?
Hope. Never losing sight of hope.
If you could step into my shoes, what question would you have asked yourself that I didn't ask you?
Oh, that's such a great question. What do you do to help yourself when you have the down days?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I would say meditate, seek professional help, seek a support group, and never be ashamed to ask for help.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. If you had the opportunity to sit down and have a 1-hour conversation with one woman, any woman in the world, who would it be and why?
Wow, that's such a great question. I would say Ruth Bader Ginsburg, RBG, because even when people went against her, she still stuck to her guns. She never swayed her beliefs and was always such a proponent for people and the little guy, and really spoke her mind.
Okay. If you could go back and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Don't worry so much.
Lastly, Val, if you were to deliver your last 30-second speech to the world, your tribe, your people, your corner of the world, what would that last 30 seconds sound like? What words of wisdom would you impart?
To never give up hope, that people are the most important things in your life and relationship, and to never pass on an invitation to a party.
Love it. Val, thank you so much for taking and making the time to be here with me today. It was even better than I thought it would be. Our conversations are always wonderful, but I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to sit down and share your story and your journey.
And thank you for having me. I'm so grateful for that. And I think that it's your questions were so wonderful and thought-provoking, and you can't help but just dig inside yourself to answer those questions. And I think you made me think about a lot of things that sometimes I should think more of, if that makes sense. So
thank you, Val. It was an absolute honor and pleasure to have you on the show. I appreciate you. I am so grateful to know you, to call you a friend, and to have you as a member of the Empowerography community. Thank you for being here with me today.
Yes, and I was at that panel last year. I had such a wonderful time that you had me be on. And I'd love to do more with you as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Once again, my name is Brad Walsh, host of your Empowerography podcast. Today, my guest has been Valerie David. She is a playwright, performer, and a 3-time cancer survivor. Thank you so much, Val. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.
Thank you. It was an honor. Thank you. And listen to all of Brad's podcasts. He's got amazing guests, and he really brings light into the world. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Val.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. If you haven't yet, please be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share with all your friends. You can find me at visuphoria.ca, follow me on Instagram at Empowerography Podcast, and on Facebook at Empowerography. Please join me next time for another inspirational story from yet another amazing woman.